Good morning, evening, afternoon, whenever you're listening to the People of Packaging podcast. I am excited that you're here. Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, for subscribing. This is going to be another fun episode. The thing I love about packaging is that the episodes can, kind of ebb and flow from, my friend John Shweya, who is helping to organize waste collectors in Kenya, to talking about flexible packaging in medical devices with my next guest here from Vonco. I've got Keith E. Smith. I am an E. Adam Peak, and we're going to be joined by Keith E. Smith. Maybe, just maybe, I don't even know. We'll discover that the E stands for the same thing. So stick around for that hot question. But most importantly, stick around for what Vonco is doing to help drive sustainability in removing PVC from a lot of the supply chain, and also giving some foil alternatives. All sorts of good stuff. Let's get going right now. Hey, good evening or good morning or good afternoon. I don't know if that, do you say good afternoon? Yeah, that's a word. Whatever time you're listening to this podcast, thank you so much for taking some time out of your day. It's considered TV, right? I'm guessing. We're live on the YouTube. Live on the YouTube. Not in Belarus, though. Told. For paper, and you have to flatten it before you recycle. I'm guessing they don't crush everything before they're collecting paper. Like 3D objects get routed away. Do you leave your paper like a box? If you leave it assembled, the likelihood that it's going to get the back goes down. Thank you so much for taking some time out of your day to listen to the people of packaging. What is up? And the question everyone wants to know, Mr. Keith E. Smith. What does the E stand for?
It is Eric.
Edward. Ah, dang it.
All right. At the same time.
Fine. Well, Keith, I really appreciate you coming on the show here and really covering a topic that in the 300 plus episodes that we've had, I don't think that we've actually kind of dove into. And people don't realize, when I tell people that I host a packaging podcast, they're like, really? Like packaging? And I'm like, you don't know how many rabbit holes that we can go down in this industry, because I could have a furniture packaging expert on, right? Like, I remember one time I had to do a project for a window shade manufacturer because the warning labels were too easy to peel off. So we had to make them really hard to peel off. And there was months of stuff around just warning and compliance labeling in the industry. So I love nerding out on very niche topics. So I'm excited to kind of jump in here and talk about yourself and what you're doing at Vonco.
Yeah, you got the right guy. It's pretty nichey. In fact, I've been in the industry for 30 years and didn't even hear of Vonco before I acquired the business, and so had a very custom, let's call it flexible plastic welding shop. Did a lot of shapes and fluid collection, and was doing a lot of, it's 12 years ago now, doing a lot of heat welding on single stream plastics, which still pretty struggle for many in that space. So yeah, it was a neat find. I've been in flexible packaging my entire career. I started at a company called Print Pack and moved to a company called Appleton Papers, and we ended up divesting those flexible packaging businesses, and then found Vonco and acquired that. And it was quite diverse. I actually bought it. I was a food guy, and bought it to move into food packaging, try to structure it and build some focus into the business. We started marketing heavily in the food industry, and slowly but surely, we continued to get unsolicited medical device companies asking us to help them out. It was mostly around the ability to, all those competencies I talked about, weld single stream plastics, insert connectors and fitments and weld those in so they can connect to pumps. And lo and behold, the market share, or the share of wallet at the company was heavy medical. So we're 80% medical device, split into really, it was kind of unique as well, as, where most of them are actually devices. They're either components or devices considered by the FDA. So 50%, over 50% of the business is in the actual device. So when you look at an IV bag or a dialysis bag, looks like a flexible package, but the FDA considers that a single-use device. And
Makes sense.
so much of the business is there. And then we acquired some companies to say, okay, we can make the single-use devices, but let's get into the packaging side. So sterilization packaging, barrier packaging like foil, and then also we do a fair amount of contract manufacturing for our customers. We're dealing with a lot of the large medical device manufacturers. You look at a Becton Dickinson or Johnson and Johnson in this category, and then the rest of the business is consumer packaging, but not too far from the med device side. We're doing health, hygiene, and household, kind of those pharmacy aisles of the grocery store. So that's
Interesting.
the areas we like to hang in, and most of it's around, fluids or really strong seals and keeping, the stuff that's out, or the stuff that's out from coming in. Yeah.
So that's fascinating. I'm actually gonna while I ask this question, I'm gonna pull up. You've got this great video running over on your website, right? It's on the homepage. It's Vonco, VONCO.com. And you're talking about what, just kind of the things you do, and there's so much about the medical device packaging that people don't see. The average consumer does not see a lot of that. But I mean, I was working in the label printing industry, and I had a customer that was in med device, and the amount of labels that they needed just for their products was staggering. And you start to realize there's this whole other world of packaging, specifically in med device and pharma, that you don't see in Target or Walmart or Costco. But maybe walk through, like, what would be something that a consumer might see in, like, I think about flexible, refillable, flexible bags for like shampoo and conditioner. I've seen those. Or the most famous one in my mind is when sour cream
Yeah.
and went from a rigid plastic container to the flexible pouch, and you could stand it up and squeeze it all out of there. So maybe talk me through some of those things that you guys are doing that maybe somebody might know about, because there's
Yeah. I'll
the
go
whole
into
other
two.
world that I want to talk about and I want to dive into, but
Yeah.
let's
I'll,
start.
I'll go
And
into
also,
two areas.
where are you located? That's the other question.
Yeah, we're in southeast Wisconsin, Kenosha County, and we also have another facility in Indianapolis,
Okay.
where a lot of our clean rooms are at.
What-
And
What's
yeah,
that famous like bakery in southeast Wisconsin that
is
makes
it O&H Danish or whatever? That you're talking about, the Kringle?
the Kringle? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The Kringle, oh, it's amazing.
You
Yeah,
can buy
yeah,
them in
yeah.
like Trader Joe's and
A lot of
stuff.
sugar in those suckers, but
I used to
they
go
are
out to
super addicting. Yeah, people love them. You bring a Kringle in here, it's like, I don't know if you ever saw that ESPN where it's like donuts in the break room, everyone's flying down the hallway. Kringle in the break room. It's
Yeah, no, it's when I worked at WS Packaging, we had a plant in Oak Creek, Wisconsin,
oh,
and
sure, yeah,
man, those Kringles were incredible. And when I saw them in
yeah.
Trader Joe's, I was like, to my wife, I'm like, we have to buy 50. They're so good. Okay,
Yeah.
before we get into the questions though, Kringles or cheese curds? What is
Oh man, yeah, I'm a
your part
cheese
of
guy,
Wisconsin?
so yeah, I'll go with cheese.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're in Wisconsin, you're in Indianapolis, and then I think my question I have to remember. Oh, what if you could make flexible packaging for Kringles? No. What would be some stuff that maybe the general consumer might know
Yeah.
you guys do?
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. All right. I'm glad you reminded me. Yeah,
Yeah.
on the consumer side, I think you hit the nail on the head. When we walk up and down again, you call it the pharmacy aisle, the non-food aisles, where you're going to see your deodorants, you're going to see your toothbrushes, your toothpaste, your shampoos. What we would love to see is, especially like these pump bottles. There's a lot of plastic. There's actually even steel in there for the springs for the pumps. those things last forever. Instead of tossing those out, we'd love to reduce the plastic used in that packaging by going to these refill pouches. And we've seen companies like Method do that.
Hmm.
We're working with a great company called Josie Moran, who's doing all types of refill pouches for lotions and travel pouches. And so just amazing looking, really elegant products and packaging, but still very functional to use in those aisles. So we just see a lot of opportunity in those aisles to continue to lightweight packaging, reduce greenhouse emissions by using less resources to do that. So you'll see those refill pouches in the aisles over there, as well as when you look at household cleaners. A lot of those are still in big rigid bottles that we can do the refill. My dream, even though consumers aren't adopting this well, is to stop shipping water as well. Right? Let's
Hmm.
get concentrates into these flexible pouches. It would be the lowest, carbon footprint that we could dream of. It's a little bit challenging to add the water at home, but it is a huge savings when you think about how much water we ship across
I
the
have.
globe.
I'll give a shout out to a local company here in Utah, Pesty. And what Pesty does, they do pest control, and you subscribe, and they ship you this little tiny. And this in this
Perfect.
case, it's a small rigid concentrate in a bottle,
Yep.
and then you also
See.
get a flexible bag that
Mm.
hooks up. It's got a pouch on it. You can hook up the sprayer is what you keep. So you keep the sprayer, you put the water in, you put the concentrate in, and then you go around and you spray your home for bugs, and you do your own pest control basically. Way cheaper than paying somebody to do it. Super low carbon footprint because you're getting this small box instead of having to go buy the
Yep.
big filled up, whatever.
Gallons. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. So that's I think a great example of what you're talking about. Dermalogica has done something similar where they have like a spouted pouch refill that I think that I don't know if it's a concentrate or not, but
Method had it for a while on the soap area. We
yeah.
worked with a company called Sunday Fertilizer out in Colorado.
Oh
They
yeah.
also use that model, right? It was the fertilizer is in the pouch already, and then you just hooked your hose up to it. So
Yep.
genius, brilliant. It was also a subscription model process for a time. So
Yeah.
really, really neat
And so you
the
guys would
product out there.
you form and make, in this case, the bag, you put
We
I
weld
saw
the
spouted
spouts
pouch,
and
you
the
weld.
connectors. Yep.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Good to know.
Yeah, so
That
that's what
gives me
you
the
see on the
question.
consumer side, but even on the in the med device side, I was thinking about it the other day. Probably, hopefully, you aren't seeing these in. I'm sure at some point we all will, but you're in the doc's office, you're going to see a fair amount of packaging. If you're especially if you're in the operating room, you're going to see people present things in a sterile manner. And so, probably the best way where we go for routine visits that this happens is the dentist. You're going to see them kind of open up these peel pouches right in front of you as they pull out the mirror or the little hook thing that they try to poke at your teeth with. All those kind of come out of a flexible package, and those are able to sterilize. What it is special packaging that allows certain gases to flow through the package but maintain the sterility of that product. So that would be the portion of our business we call medical device packaging. So you have consumer flexible packaging, medical device packaging, and then also then the single-use and disposable devices. The single-use disposable device, like I said, is probably an IV bag style is probably a good way, but a fun market that we're in is biopharma and cell and gene therapy, which is an amazing process that's developing where instead of like a one size fits all medicine, we're able to now start to be able to pluck out, healthy, cells from your body, and I'm sick. I need you to use your cells to reprogram me. And so that all now happens. And instead of making, you got to imagine as it's making medicine is it's very expensive, and so and also it has to be very clean. So if it's very personalized, you have to change over all the time. Well, you have these big vats and piping and all that stuff to get those clean is almost impossible to do quickly over and over again. So now we've gone to these single-use baffle 3D bags, even where it allows us to do the mixing. But then once we're done making my medicine, they want to move to the next person's medicine, we just remove that. Much lower cost, much quicker.
That's fascinating.
It is fascinating.
I want to do this because there were some things that I saw that you guys are doing that I don't know about, but it seems like it's really important, specifically around sustainability. There's so much waste. I say this, waste sounds bad, but it's necessary waste. Like I don't want to go to the dentist and have them reusing the same, toothpick or whatever it is. Like I
Right.
want that to be a single use item that has been sterilized, right? Like that, maybe not single use. I don't know what happens after they're done with
They
it.
clean it, right? They clean it
I'm
and
sure
send
they
it to
clean it,
sterilize. Yep,
and then it has to
right
be
inside.
sterilized.
They send it into an autoclave, basically,
Yeah.
in their dentist. Yep.
Yeah. So, but I want to know that happened, and I want
Right.
there's reassurance. I don't want them reusing that packaging, and so I have to imagine there's a lot of talk around sustainability, specifically when it comes to extended producer responsibility for some of these larger companies. You mentioned Method and J&J and BD. These companies have potentially some pretty large EPR bills coming their way. And then you add on top of that tariffs, which from the time we record this until it comes out, who
Could
knows?
be
We can't
different.
I don't even know. But I'm guessing there's some things there. So let's do this here real quick, Keith, Eric Smith. We're going to take a quick break, hear from our sustainability friends at Triac and SpecRite, and then we'll be right back here with Keith Smith from Vonco.
Are you tired of managing your specs in spreadsheets, PDFs, or relying on suppliers to do it for you? Learn how SpecRite can help you digitize and take control of your product and packaging specifications to drive sustainability reporting, SKU rationalization, and better collaborate across departments and with your suppliers. Go to SpecRite.com to learn more.
Have you ever wondered, how do I reduce my carbon footprint? Should I focus on recycled content or reducing weight first? Which design strategies are the most effective for my products? Triac offers multiple solutions for lifecycle assessment, goals management, reporting, EPR fees, and more. Visit triac.com to connect with our team and register for a free 10-day trial of Eco Impact Compass to get started today.
All right. We are back here on the People of Packaging podcast with Keith Smith from Vonco.com. So, Keith, when we talk about sustainability in stuff like medical device and pharma, I'm guessing that you get questions that most people don't realize come to you. So I think about material science around recycling for HDPE, PET, polypropylene. There's a recyclability to those that's fairly commonplace, though the rates aren't as high as I think we'd like to see them. But there's other materials, right? There's styrofoam,
Laminates, nylons.
nylons,
Styrofoam.
Tyvek, PVC, these types of materials. Are you guys doing things that are maybe helping companies lower their EPR bills, or just do the right thing and get out of certain materials that are harder to recycle? I have to imagine the transition for that has got to be years because of all the testing that has to go into it. So maybe talk me through what that's like.
Definitely the validation cycle for packaging change or a device change is quite long. I mean, years. It is years. So there's a lot of work that, and even just to go like for like, it's sometimes measured in years. So changing the materials around can be daunting. But yeah, we do use a lot of single stream plastics that can make recyclability better in flexibles. I mean, that is maybe the one area that you would put on the SWOT in a weakness, but I do believe we're solving that, and I believe in the power of and in flexible packaging, that it's only a matter of time. It's not an if, but when. That we already have the lowest greenhouse gas emissions on a life cycle analysis. But if we can tackle this recyclability, which EPR is measured, it looks like, in both recyclability, your ability to recycle your product, but also the weight of your product. So when you talk about flexible packaging, certainly wins in that lightweight, and then we're working on that recyclability. So there's a lot of conversation there. PVC, you're kind of hinting on, is an area that has been spec'd in for decades in IV bags, dialysis bags, blood bags. In some cases, the PVC, the chemistry in the PVC actually helps blood survive longer. The shelf life of 42 days is partly due to the PVC bag it's in. So that's a complicated one to look
Can I
at.
jump in there? Because sometimes
Yeah.
you hear things like, especially in like consumer packaging, it's like, well, it's not a matter of life or death. And you start talking about days of blood being, like
42 days. Yeah.
this is a matter of life or death in a lot of cases. You are dealing with packaging that is literally like transporting, in this case, of blood or organs or whatever it is. Like,
And organ preservation fluids. Some of our projects are on that. It's just amazing what we get to work with our clients on and what they're doing in the world to save lives. Yeah, exactly.
So it's a big deal. I mean, so changing from a PVC to a different material is like, you can't have that material be 41 days instead of 42 days or whatever the numbers are. Like, you just that's a non-negotiable, I'd imagine.
It is a big deal. It's changing. You have to change the entire world's supply chain, right? If you're going to take blood from 42 days to 35 days, that whole supply chain gets disrupted overnight, right? I mean, everything's built on how long will that blood survive and be usable. So, but nonetheless, right? I mean, the challenge, obviously, here in the States and even in Europe, the laws and EPR are different all over the place. So who's going to set what sustainability means? Ultimately, it looks like the government is going to play a big part in this. For years, it's like definition of sustainability was in the eye of the beholder, the brand owner, right? What do I believe my consumers believe sustainability is? And the definition would be different depending on who you talk to. And that's the same in med device as well. But we are now seeing EPR, and I have a feeling that's going to be one of the bigger influences in shaping the next 10 years of what packaging format wins. But we are seeing in Europe that they are pushing to get rid of PVC, and it's driving projects that have been traditionally in PVC into, usually polypropylene is probably the best replacement there. And one of the challenges is if you have a lot of infrastructure to make a PVC bag, it is not heat welding, right? So if you look at all the pouches that are out in the grocery store, for instance, there's a huge industry behind it of all this equipment that welds all that together, and they're mostly built of heat welders, right? You're just taking heat and stamping it on there in the shape that you want to create that format. It's not the case they're called for PVC, urethanes, these types of materials. They have to be done through radio frequency. And so if you're making and pumping out all these IV bags or dialysis bags, you've got plants that are producing things with radio frequency. Switch over to polypropylene, that typically doesn't work.
Wow. I never knew that or had even thought about that's crazy. Just the desire and the cost of change is so high.
It is, yeah.
That the benefit has to be
gigantic.
It's got to be big.
Or you have to find a way to make it easy and to transition. And this is a technology that Vonco owns. Is we've been able to convert our RF welders over to weld polypropylene through a trade secret technology. We acquired the company, and I was like, oh my goodness, exactly, right? Yeah, so everybody stay tuned. After the next commercial break, we'll tell you how.
we need 72 downloads of to try out the LCA tool over at Triac. No, that's great. Okay, so you guys have a way And by the way, I always caveat this when I ask these questions, because maybe people think like, oh, we're doing this podcast to just promote whatever, this isn't a sales pitch. I literally did not know this before we got on. So Vonco is one of the only companies
I haven't found anyone else yet, but I mean, there's usually there's a lot of people in the world, right? So
100%, yeah. But as far as so you guys can then take this process that used to be very complex and hard and just pigeonhole people into PVC and say, hey, we can actually run either PVC or polypropylene on the same line. And you just you have some proprietary changeover that you do to make sure that it can keep going.
That's right.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and so this is creating some opportunity, because look at it. I mean, all right, sure, it could be a commercial, it could be self-serving, but at the same time, PVC has some bad actors in it, right? When you soften it up, it has a plasticizer in it that will leach into the IV, and the jury's always out on how disruptive it is to have that in the body. And then the second is the disposal. It's very difficult to recycle, if at all, and if it's burned or incinerated, or as it degrades, it puts out toxic gases, chlorine gases. So polyvinyl chloride will put out kind of chlorine gases. So we're trying to get that out of the waste stream at the same time. So there's, you look at this and say, like, this is an opportunity to change the world. And so when I think about that, I want to scream it at the top of the roofs, right? To say this could actually make people's lives a lot better. It's subtle, right? I don't know how many people think about PVC all day long, but if we were able to do that in an entire supply chain, I think we ultimately start to make a big dent in some of the sustainability efforts.
Well, I will say, I'm going to lean into my Southern Baptist roots here for one quick second, because what you're asking is for people to repent, which means to turn and go a different direction. And you are an evangelist, right? That's a bringer of good news. And literally they would show up, the evangelist would show up, or the evangelion, and they would proclaim, we're here. There's good things that are coming, and it wasn't always good news. It was like, I think it was like the Roman Empire was like, hey, good news, we made it. And people are like, I'm not sure if that's great. But in this case, you are saying, hey, we can get out of PVC if we want to, and revolutionize this whole industry, make it safer. There is a need for post-consumer recycled polypropylene in the market. Like you said, there's challenges on how to recover it and process it. But I've got some great friends who work, for example, Jonathan Quinn and Marku Alexander at the U.S. Plastics Pact. There's some awesome people who are working on this, and I think everybody wants it. I think that the world doesn't really want us to envision what it's going to be like without plastic, because in its current state, it's a terrible place. There's a lot of death and destruction and starvation that happens. And I'm pretty quick to point that out. I don't even work in the plastics industry. I just am a common sense person. But you are sitting here saying, hey, listen, we can get out of this one particular thing. That is good news. You should scream from the mountaintops. You should tell everyone, repent from PVC or whatever it is.
Well,
propylene is at hand.
Yeah, but if I'm at my pulpit and there's only two people that are listening, that's an issue. What's helped people want to listen and pay attention is the regulatory bodies, and with Europe pushing, saying that, enough's enough. We've got to start finding ways to move across it, move away from it. This is a good way we can help folks not have to reinvest in all their equipment to do so.
I love that. Well, Keith, I am keeping an eye on the clock here. And my friend, we were at 30 minutes, which went by way faster than I thought it was going to. I say this almost every episode. People who listen to it are probably like, you say that every time. But it just does, because I just am it's so fascinating to me what is happening in the world of packaging. And I never thought in 100,000 years that I would be 300 episodes deep into this podcast, but and still just finding out new pieces of information almost every time. So, I'll let you kind of handle maybe one last question, and then I'll let you wrap it up on how can people reach out to you. So, I kind of teed this up a little bit. You talked about EPR, but are tariffs becoming a thing that are impacting this industry? I feel like they are, but this isn't a world I'm super familiar with. So maybe talk about some of the problems and challenges around tariffs within your customer base, and then wrap it up with how people can get a hold of you. End on a high note. Tariffs. That's
Right, everyone. Yeah, we have noticed that in our AV marketing testing, nobody likes the word tariffs anymore. So
they do not.
Sure.
They do not.
We are beat up by that word.
I'll beep it out like a song on the radio on this podcast. Right. People are like, "What are they talking?" They're talking about beep. Oh,
yeah, it's a dirty word now.
Yeah.
But the biggest challenge that we're having from our supply chain, which we're 90% domestic, so it's we are starting to hear. We heard a lot of it in COVID when China shut down, that we need supply chain resilience and we need to diversify, come closer, near shore. Well, now right on the heels, there wasn't a lot of activity. Now on the heels of COVID shutting down the supply chains, we're kind of shutting them down again. So there's serious projects going on to diversify those portfolios. I think there's legitimate numbers. People are being held, like, we need so much here, we need so much there. So it feels that way anyway. And so that's good for U.S. manufacturers. So it definitely supports the cause here. On the big area, foil tends to be the biggest thing being tariffed, and prices really moving up. Most of it's being produced in Southeast Asia, and well before this, there was a lot of proof that there was dumping going on. So there was already a tariff on foil coming into packaging for flexible packaging, and then you add in the extra 30%. So it's roughly being, again, it might change tomorrow, by the time we're done here, but last time I looked, it was close to 80%. So it's a big deal. So we're, when that first tariff came out, it was important for us to start looking at alternatives, Adam. And so we've got 3, 4, 5 different structures that get rid of foil in there, but still, foil is like a perfect barrier, right? It helps you with oxygen, moisture, it just doesn't get through it. So, how do you start to replicate that? But also in med device, there was no risk taken, right? I'm just going to go to the highest barrier and I'm not going to worry about it. Well, now you got cost, you got supply chain issues. You might want to go back and take a look at, can we get away with a little more oxygen that's getting through? Can we get away with a little more moisture that's getting through, and your product still hits your shelf life targets? And that way you can bring your cost down, bring your supply chain risk down. So things we can help, other med device companies and consumer companies navigate through.
Well, that's great.
And then, reach out. Certainly, you've got www.vonco.com on the bottom. That's a great way. There's lots of ways to get connected there. I have a LinkedIn site. I'd love to chat with you guys out on LinkedIn. I'm blogging a lot and chatting a lot out there. I have my own personal website too. Reach out there, keithsmith.io. I riff on a lot of leadership ideas on that website. So you can contact me there as well. So would love to be in the discussion with anybody wanting to talk packaging or leadership. Those are some of my favorite topics.
I love it. Well, everyone, just go do it. Just go check out what they're doing over at Vonco. Connect up with Keith, especially if you're in the industry. I do get a lot of people who ask questions about some of these products, and I candidly haven't really known where to send them, and now I do. And I trust that Keith's somebody that, hey, if they can't help you, given your background, you probably can be like, hey, we're not actually a great fit for this, but you want to go talk to ABC company, whoever that is. So, and go get some Kringles, for crying out loud.
Kringles and curds.
Get some Kringles and curds, and maybe grab a spotted cow in the evening and enjoy it, especially in the summertime. December and January, maybe do a virtual press check. Anyway,
Yeah,
Keith, I really
right,
appreciate
yeah.
you coming on. Even though your middle name's not Edward, it's
Sorry.
still been fantastic. But yeah, it's fine. It wasn't your fault,
Yeah,
literally.
it wasn't. I blame my parents for a lot of things. Now I have to blame them for that.
Thank you, Keith. I appreciate it.